Neurolife Corner. My name is Sheila, your host, and today we are um, like trying to do more lives just because some of the subscribers have asked about it, and I guess I'm getting to that point where I should be having a more set schedule, right? So if you guys want something like that, please sound off in the comments. I want to thank all of the new subscribers to the channel as well as the top ones. Um, I don't know if I said it already, but you guys have built this community and we have been growing it little by little, sharing and spending time and engaging and having our agreements and disagreements and a little bit of everything, right? So, I wanted to talk about cognitive dissonance just because it's something that doesn't get explored too much. And to me, having experience on the clinical side, being an EMT and being a mental health technician, um, having been an autism specialist and having dealt with patients with intellectual developmental disabilities, you see it a lot, obviously, in those very extreme circumstances, but you see it on a daily basis. And cognitive dissonance is kind of like a discomfort that comes when somebody's very strongly, very all or nothing held beliefs get challenged by conflicting information or actions or beliefs. And the reason I chose to speak about this is because right now in the United States of America, we are going through, I would call, mass cognitive dissonance from various angles, right? Um, One of the main ones and one of the obvious ones is religious, you know? People that are religious usually have a very all or nothing um, set of beliefs. It is very rigid. And when things start to happen that kind of like challenge those very strongly held beliefs, um, you know, people obviously get defensive and can become quite distressed because your brain kind of like, how can I explain it? It's almost like if you had an electric shock, right, in your brain where you short circuit for a second. You're like, wait, you know, this is what I believe, but this is what people are doing, and now I have to rationalize it or explain it away or suspend my beliefs. And eventually, it could leave people very empty, very vulnerable, but it could be very dangerous as well. So you see it a lot in religion, and it's very easy to prove, actually, because let me sound off on the chat. It is Dominic Marty and Jamie and Marty. Did I get it right? Yeah, did I get it? I usually butcher people's names. I'm so sorry. But thank you so much for joining the live. Make sure you do all the good things. Hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get um, notifications when we have new videos dropping in. Um, but anyway, so going back to cognitive dissonance. So in religion is very easy to see because there are certain beliefs that are kind of easy to disprove with new evidence. And a lot of people can sometimes sort of break that very all or nothing um, thought and start evolving their beliefs and start accepting new information and that type of thing. But a lot of the times in religion, that critical thinking is discouraged. A lot of the times in religion, um, you are um, encouraged to believe without challenging, without pushing back. So that fosters a culture of, well, it doesn't matter that things don't make sense because that's how faith is supposed to be. And that's how you get, for example, the cognitive dissonance of people um, considering or identifying as Christians, but then acting in their own lives in a total different way from what Jesus Christ would have been as a prophet. And if you read the Bible and all of that, like for example, very simple one um, would be Jesus' race. It is very I don't even know how to explain it, but it's very weird to see that even diverse churches usually depict Jesus and Jesus's family, if it's a Catholic church, as Caucasian. At most, you'll see a little bit of olive skin, but that's as far as they would, venture to go for the most part. And I know we've come a long way in some churches, especially in the Black community, have made this point um, obvious, but that is one that always it drives me insane because it's like, how can somebody understand that, Jesus Christ in his life would have taken place in what is today modern Iran and the Middle East, and people from the Middle East are melanated. Most of them are black and brown. Um, it is incredibly ironic, and that's part of the cognitive dissonance too, is that they become the almost like imposter syndrome. It's like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I'm anti-immigrant. And it's like, do you realize that Jesus was a migrant? Not only a migrant, he had to seek asylum in Egypt. So it's just so weird, because you're like, what book are you reading, right? But that is part of the cognitive dissonance because they've always been sold this sort of like white savior that anoints you and picks you and makes you special, and only you are going to be saved, and you got to keep your personal relationship to Jesus. And then you see people preaching that and preaching abundance. Like, that's another one that blows my mind. The whole preaching of abundance in these mega churches and people praying for like checks in the mail and all kind, when Jesus was completely against the accumulation of wealth. He said that a camel would go through the eye of a needle easier. And if I'm not mistaken, they're not talking an actual camel, the animal. I think, if I remember my history well, there is this nautical rope that was called a camel. Anyway, I digress. So that is a cognitive dissonance, and it is very disorienting for me because I kind of like deprogram. I was raised Catholic, very conservative Catholic, but my Catholic church was kind of like a charismatic Catholic church, right? So I had to deprogram a lot of my church hurt and a lot of the things that just didn't make sense to me. And as an adult now, it's fascinating that I can see adults that are agnostic or atheist and have way more moral clarity in a lot of topics than somebody that says that they're a diehard Christian, especially in this Bible Belt area, in Bible thumpers and mega churches. Um, so so again, so cognitive dissonance is very usual in religion, those religious circles. Um, Now, we saw it take a hold, with the whole red pill, manosphere, brosphere, you name it. Same thing. You had men that are supposed to be alpha, are supposed to be hyper masculine. But then when you look at what they're surrounded with and the type of relationships they have, um, they are always very like anti-women and very um sort of like dismissive and try to like make it not a big deal. They're constantly surrounded by their bros, and by their loyalty. And you're supposed to be so much of a man, but then you can't interact and build relationships with women unless you are in this pack mentality. And again, the cognitive dissonance has to be incredibly uncomfortable because again you're holding a certain belief very near to your heart where you think you're an alpha male, but yet you have very homoerotic relationships in your life, and the type of show that you see, the type of everything, like the type of look even that you're attracted to in women, and um, the features that you categorize as manly. Um, so obviously it becomes incredibly uncomfortable because the level of repression, something in you wants to recognize something, and it's like a constant fight, right? So cognitive dissonance, it's definitely something that can be very debilitating because again, people have sort of an all or nothing belief about whatever the topic is, right? That is one of the reasons why Minnesota and Minneapolis, um, when they had their George Floyd moment, and now when they had all of the issues with ICE, they have established a blueprint of how people should react because it is a cognitive dissonance to have your own government and the people that are supposed to be there to serve and protect when we're talking about George Floyd, and then now to see paramilitary Gestapo forces going door to door and unaliving Americans on the streets, it's extreme cognitive dissonance because we've been told for so long, we've been drinking the Kool-Aid of American excellence, and freedom for all, and the pursuit of happiness, and holding this truth and all of that. And people don't realize that words are not action, that speeches are not action, that cursing in a show or in a podcast here and there is not organizing, and it's not opposition, and it's not action. So obviously, when they see authority abusing their neighbors, their American brothers and sisters, it's very shocking, and it's gonna always create very big reactions against it or for it. And that is the danger of cognitive dissonance. I think right now we are all experiencing mass cognitive dissonance. We wake up every day to a news cycle that doesn't seem real. You can't really trust. It's difficult to pinpoint who's pushing what agenda and who's weaponizing what. It's very scary. So it is very important that we, as neurodivergent people, take care of each other, advocate for each other, start looking for policies that actually make a concrete benefit to our lives, right? That's the way we keep thriving as a community. So anyway, thank you so much for Domenica Marte, Jamie Marte, Aitoshi, and Estefania Lopez for joining the live and for engaging and commenting. Like I've mentioned to a lot of you, the channel is being shadow banned. So please keep leaving comments, smash the hearts, all of that, share it with your friends. That way we can keep expanding our community and learning, and keeping each other informed and safe and healthy and happy.